The wind cut sharply across the high altiplano, carrying the chill of the Andes over a barren, endless plain. To most, this was a lonely, inhospitable place. But for Dr. Eris Thorne, it was a landscape alive with questions. Eris, wrapped in a heavy parka and thick gloves, stood among the scattered stones of Pumapunku, his breath visible in the thin air. He was a man driven by the mysteries of the ancient world, and this site just beyond the ruins of Tiwanaku had haunted his thoughts for years. Eris had spent decades studying the achievements of the Tiwanaku people, ancestors of the Aymara, who once ruled this land. The accepted story was one of ingenuity and determination, a civilization that carved and moved massive stones using only the simplest tools. But as Eris traced the crisp, almost surgical edges of the andesite and diorite blocks, some weighing over 100 tons, he felt a familiar doubt. The stones fit together with a precision that seemed impossible for their time. The surfaces were smooth, the angles perfect, the cuts so clean they looked as if they'd been made by machines far beyond anything the ancient world was supposed to possess. He wasn't alone in his wonder. Beside him stood Dr. Lena Petrova, a structural engineer with a sharp mind and a practical eye. Lena, bundled in a windbreaker and scarf, knelt beside a fallen block, her gloved fingers following the intricate channels and right angles. "The tolerances here are tighter than most modern buildings," she said quietly. "This isn't just skill, it's a technology we don't understand." If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that bring history's greatest mysteries to life. Eris nodded, feeling a mix of satisfaction and unease. He had run the numbers, tested the theories. To shape and move these stones with such accuracy, using only stone tools, would have taken centuries for a single block. And yet, here stood an entire complex. How had they done it? How had they transported these stones from distant quarries and fit them together so perfectly, without wheels or metal tools? As they worked, Lena's sharp eyes caught something thin, straight fracture on a red sandstone slab. She called Eris over. "This isn't a natural break," she said. "It's too clean. It looks like a cut that stopped halfway through a misfire." Eris examined the mark, his heart pounding. It was a razor-thin line, perfectly straight, running for about a foot before ending abruptly. This was no accident of nature. It was the trace of a tool, a precise tool, failing mid-operation. But what kind of tool could do this, in a world without steel or lasers? This discovery was just the beginning. Over the following months, Eris and Lena deepened their investigation. They used laser scanners to create detailed 3D models of the blocks, uncovering even more astonishing details, perfect circles, geometric patterns that hinted at advanced mathematics, and interlocking shapes so precise they seemed to defy friction itself. Lena, ever the skeptic, turned her attention to the region's seismic history. Many believed that a massive earthquake had destroyed Pumapunku, toppling its stones. But as she pored over ancient seismic data, she found the evidence didn't fit. The damage wasn't uniform, as one would expect from an earthquake. Instead, many blocks looked as if they'd been pried apart, or even deliberately disassembled. "It's almost as if someone took this place apart on purpose," she told Eris one evening, her desk covered in charts and diagrams. The question shifted from how Pumapunku was built to why it was taken apart. Who would dismantle such a marvel, and for what reason? Searching for answers, Eris and Lena turned to the oral traditions of the Aymara people. Local shamans spoke of the Viracochas divine beings, who descended from the heavens and taught their ancestors the secrets of the cosmos. Eris had always dismissed these stories as legend, but now, with the evidence mounting, he began to wonder if there was a kernel of truth hidden in the myth. The final piece of the puzzle came from Maya, a young geologist on their team. While examining a microscopic sample of the stone, she discovered faint traces of a crystalline lattice that didn't belong. "It looks like a residue," she explained, "left by some intense energy process. Maybe even a kind of sonic vibration, something we don't understand." The implications were staggering. Could the builders of Pumapunku have used sound or some other unknown force to shape and move these stones? Was this knowledge inherited from the Viracochas or discovered by the Tiwanaku themselves? And if so, why was it lost? As the sun set behind the Andean peaks, casting long shadows over the ruins, Eris and Lena stood in silence. They had come seeking answers, but found only deeper questions. Pumapunku was more than a ruin, it was a message from the past, a challenge to everything we think we know about human history. Their journey was far from over. For Eris, Lena, and Maya, the stones of Pumapunku would always whisper of secrets yet to be uncovered. And for those willing to listen, the mystery remains a puzzle waiting for the next curious mind to solve. If you're as fascinated by these ancient enigmas as we are, make sure to subscribe and join us for more journeys into the unknown. The past is full of secrets, and together we can bring them to light.